sometimes we'll give it 10 seconds before we'll stop and we'll be like, okay, I don't know what that was. That sounded like shit. So let's not do that.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If the two of you would be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Marecov, and I drum and do vocals for Swampbeast.
And I'm Mike, and I do guitars and vocals for Swampbeast.
Marecov, Mike, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, this incredibly pedantic question, what is Swampbeast? How would you describe the music of Swampbeast?
Oh, well, Marco, do you want to describe it, or?
I would describe it as just like the darkest music that reflects the members in it. And, it's kind of like with every release we've done so far, we haven't really aimed for any particular sound. We just kind of do what we feel in the moment. So I guess just like, as of now, just dark, chaotic, like blackened death metal.
Mike, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think I was going to say we like to focus on dissonant chords and melodies. Not a lot of like pretty sounding things. It's a lot of very, very mind-bending, like dark riffs, I guess.
Now, Marecov, as the drummer, is blast important to you? Is it important that Swampbeast has a strong element of blast?
Yeah, definitely. I love blasting, but, it's not just about the blast. There's a lot of range of, like extreme drumming that, I take influences from and like to engage them into Swampbeast, whether it be like, dooming out or like, having some punk style beats or something. I like a lot of variety and like keeping it interesting and doing what's fun.
So, if the two of you wouldn't mind, can you tell me a little bit about how Swampy started, and Mike, how you got involved with the band?
I'll let you start, Marco, because I came after the fact.
Yeah. Well, Swampbeast was started with our old guitarist and I, Griffin Work and I. He asked me if I wanted to play drums for a death metal band, and at the time I hardly played drums at all. So I mean, I could keep a beat, but not much of it other than that. So I actually pretty much learned how to drum like this through Swampbeast, and Griffin and I started the band, and yeah, it's pretty much how it started. And then Mike came in around like I want to say like early 2019.
Yeah, end of 2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had moved here. I had moved from North Carolina not knowing anybody, and I met Markov because it was a recommendation that I jam with him from some random guy that I met at California Death Fest that is now a good friend of mine. His name's John. Shout out John. And we call him GI John. And he was like, hey, I talked to this guy Marecov. He's like, he's a great drummer of Swampbeast. They're already established and they have like a really raw style, and I feel like you'd be into it. And that's literally it. I just messaged Marecov because he hooked me up with like his contact info, and I didn't know anybody here at all. That was kind of the goal, is to try to meet people to play music with. And then Marecov was the first person I met here, actually, as far as the music scene goes.
Now, Mike, at the time that you met Marecov, I think Swampbeast had already released that first demo and the split. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
So were you familiar with their music?
So I was not, actually, when I first moved out to California. It was kind of like I had heard a lot of bands that Marecov actually asked me about when we first met that were intertwined, in the same friend group and scene. And that's, I feel like, a big reason why we connected. But I had not heard of Swampbeast actually when I first moved here, because I feel like Swampbeast was kind of in the underground realm. And as far as California goes, there's a lot of bands, very vast music scene. So,
yeah. Did you say you were originally from South Carolina?
actually, yeah, born and raised in South Carolina, but yeah, North Carolina was where I lived most of my life. Yeah.
North Carolina. Sorry about that. Were you involved with the death metal scene there?
Yeah, actually, in Asheville, North Carolina, where I lived for 10 years, Harsh Realm is the name of the band that I played guitar and did vocals in. It was like very sludgy death metal before I moved out here. And they're actually still a band that performs right now. They're some of my closest friends, and they still live in Asheville, North Carolina.
So, Mike, you came in around 2019. Marecov, can you tell me about the other two members, how they became involved with Swampbeast?
Yeah. So, well, the current two other members of Swampbeast came in fairly recently because pretty much during and right after our first full length Seven Evils, our old guitarist Griffin and the bassist at the time had left. Griffin moved out of state. And so, shortly after that, we had to find some new members. And the first one was Eric Cruz. I knew him from, well, we were already close friends, but he also played bass in a band called Crematory Stench. They're really sick. You should check them out if you don't know him already. And then, yeah, he was totally down and ready to do it. And then, after running through the songs with him and stuff, his guitarist, who's also in Crematory Stench, and so we knew him also, Hosey, he also joined the band pretty well recently. And yeah, it's just been like a blast because, we already knew them and are close friends with them. We all get along. And yeah, so we've just been running them through the the stuff we've written and recorded and all that.
I was just going to add that I was a fan of Crematory Stench before I moved out here. So it's been really cool jamming with two of the members from Crematory Stench, the core members of them that are now in Swampbeast.
Are Crematory Stench still active?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, they're very active. You could almost say that they're making a comeback. They have a very, very sick new drummer. He's really good.
Shout out Crematory Stench. Yeah.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit about your songwriting. How does a Swampbeast song start? How do you guys usually approach a song?
I'm going to let Mike take that one.
Does it start with the riffs, Mike?
Well, I would say it doesn't necessarily start with riffs necessarily. It's got to be a two-part process. And by two parts, I mean like literally two instruments. And it's Marecov on drums and me on guitar. And I would say, the old lineup before I joined was the same way. And that's, I think, why we vibed so well as far as songwriters. It's really like sometimes it's Marecov just literally clicking a 4 count of his drumsticks in, and then we both play whatever's on our mind. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes it's literally as simple as we don't think about it at all. We just kind of we play whatever's in our heads, like stream of consciousness kind of thing. And sometimes we'll give it 10 seconds before we'll stop and we'll be like, okay, I don't know what that was. That sounded like shit. So let's not do that. Or sometimes we'll give it a couple minutes, we'll give it a couple minutes before we stop and we'll be like, okay, what was that? I don't know if you agree, Marecov, but sometimes it is as simple as us just sort of stream of consciousness being like, okay,
yeah,
let's just play what's on our minds, like literally in the moment,
Yeah, that's how Swampbeast has always pretty much been. It's just like rarely has a song ever come to fruition from start to finish with like, here's the riffs, they're all laid out, here's how I roughly want the song to go, or it's pretty much just like one person will be like, hey, like I'll tell Mike, hey, I think it'd be sick if we started a song like this, and I'll be blasting away or whatever, and he'd be like, okay, and then we just kind of like we riff from there. Mike said before, like to me, and I thought it was funny because it's kind of true. We're almost, it's like Swampbeast is almost like a jam band, and in a sense, it kind of is. We just kind of like we make it up as we go along. What we like, we stick with, and we improve on. We take it piece by piece, and if it doesn't work out and it sounds like shit, we throw it away and we move on.
Yeah, I'd say that is it. We just kind of jam, and if we find a riff that works, we're like, okay, that riff worked. How about you change this drum part? Or you'll be like, how about you change this guitar part? We just kind of nuance it from there.
I'd just like to speak about your drum techniques just for a little bit. You mentioned that you were quite new to the drums when Swampbeast started. How did you develop your techniques?
I just think it was just a matter of playing the stuff over and over again. I kind of really just learned as I went. I mean, our old guitarist Griffin, he also played the drums. He was a lefty though, so like I couldn't play on his kit really, but so he had a grasp of the drums and would like show me like, oh, here's how you blast, here's how you DB, here's like this like slow doomy drum part like I want you to do. And he was almost like a teacher in that kind of sense where he would point me in a direction, show me like, okay, here's what you basically do. And with that in my mind, I just like just doing this stuff over and over again for years and writing stuff with them. I just got better. I would find days where I'd be trying a blast and then realizing, oh, I can go a lot faster than normally. And yeah, so just basically teaching myself from there.
It seems like you really like the ride blast, the ride bell blast.
Yeah, I do like that.
Are there any particular drummers who you took inspiration from with the ride blast or anything else?
I mean, specifically drummers, not particularly, but if I had to like name some bands that like I got really into and like, you know, when it comes to drumming, I just thought they were really sick. It'd be like Incantation, Dead Congregation, and Lucifer, Infernal Coil, Primitive Man. Primitive Man was a big one in the very beginning, as well as Vermin Womb. Yeah, just really sick, fast playing from those projects, aside from Incantation, but those drums just sound awesome.
So let's talk about the new album. The second Swampbeast album is called Offering of Chaos, Lamenting in the Blood of Man, and it will be released at the end of May through Translation Lost Records. When did you guys start working on this album?
We actually started writing this album like as kind of at the same time as we went in to record Seven Evils in like 2020. Like I remember right before we went in to record, we had already started writing new songs. So it's been a while that we've been brewing these songs, and we went in to record this album in like 2022. So it's been a while, I guess, kind of honing all these songs in.
Okay. Given that the writing was so close to the first album, what were you thinking as far as the sound of the album? Did you want it to be very close to what you were already doing, or did you want to try something different?
We definitely wanted to do something different. I feel like with every release, we've always wanted to switch it up. We don't really like staying in one kind of pocket.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we went out and like did what we set out to do with Seven Evils, and we wanted to just kind of build more and see what else we could do with this new one.
Yes, and in addition to that, I feel like our influences changed as well. Like our influences have always been like pretty similar, but I feel like anybody that listens to music, and people that enjoy this kind of music, like their influences are going to change over time because of what they're listening to currently. And I feel like for all of us, that also was a part of it. And with Griffin moving to Washington, early couple years ago, and that was when we were finishing. We finished the other album, Seven Evils, right? Before he left, and I feel like that also changed how we wrote music because Griffin helped us write a lot of those songs, and then we sort of, without him there, we were like, okay, well, we can do what we're already doing, but we can expand upon it, because we have different people in the mix now, and I was already there working with Griffin and Marecov, but without Griffin there, obviously sounds are going to change because of different musical styles and influences, individually.
And so, in practical terms, what does that mean for this album? How would you describe the difference in Swampbeast without Griffin as to when Griffin was in the band and contributing to the songwriting?
Well, for me personally, I felt like Seven Eagles was a very like obscure. It was a very obscure death metal record with lots of like grind influences as well as doom. And I feel like in this one we kind of honed in more on just a little bit more leaning into the death metal side of things, but also putting in some pretty cool black metal influences or whatever. I mean, black metal is a range of what people call that, but for I don't know, when I ask Mike for like a black metal riff and what he gives me, or like he understands what I'm talking about, I guess that's kind of what pokes out more in this album. Just a little, I wouldn't say less obscure, but not less obscure, but it's just more focused, way more focused than our first release, first full length. Sorry.
Definitely. Yeah, I would agree upon that. Yeah.
Mike, it does seem like this album has more of what you're describing in terms of the dissonance. Maybe that's what you mean about the black metal sound.
Yeah.
But there's like that eerie kind of like atmosphere to this album.
Yeah, definitely. I would say we're still playing, like, it's all been relatively dissonant, but I feel like this album focuses a little bit more on, yeah, it's not quite as chaotic. It's more focused, like Marecov was saying, but some of the riffs, which I kind of, wanted to write more dissonant, purposefully dissonant riffs, came out more on this album rather than the last one. The last one had plenty of dissonant riffs, but I feel like this one is more focused on that, aspect of it.
So was this album more or less complete before Eric and Jose joined the band?
Yeah, I would say it was almost complete by the time they joined. I would say it was actually completely done before they joined.
I think there was one
Eric
song
joined.
that. Sorry.
I was just going to say Eric joined probably toward the end of it, but mostly we had written it all.
Okay. So you recorded the album with someone who's been on this podcast before and whose name has been coming up recently.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about working with Rolly.
Working with Rolly is like,
It's awesome.
I don't know. There's no other way I'd want to do it. It is so great being in the studio with him and having him record your band. If you are in Southern California, you definitely should go. He's really good at just pulling like the best out of you, getting your best take. He's like full of energy. He's yelling. He's throwing food everywhere. He is like, yeah, he's just he's a great guy and he's really good at what he does. So Swampbeast goes to him for every release, right? Since the split.
And I had never met the guy before I met these people, and I feel like after you meet him for like a few minutes, you feel like you've known him for a lifetime. And he also has like a huge musical background as far as knowledge of different music goes. And I feel like that's essential to, some of the comfort that you get from recording with somebody like that. He's just very, very comforting to work with, even though he's crazy in a good way.
So we're speaking about Errol Ulig from the band Teeth, who's been on this podcast before and who's worked with a lot of the death metal bands in the LA and Southern California area. Marecov, you're going to have to explain to me why he was throwing food around. What led to him doing
Dude,
that?
every time I've recorded with him multiple times, it's like he will hear a part and like what you're recording and he will get so psyched about it. He'll just be like, and he'll take like his nuts or whatever he's snacking on or food, and he will just throw it against the wall. Like he's just, it's like, I don't know. Every time it just happens.
Yeah.
And you don't get tired of it.
Yeah, I believe I don't remember the details, but I believe he has some kind of degree in in music, right? Like he came from a jazz background and he has some kind of degree in music performance or something.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like like it was like,
He definitely seems like he does. Yeah.
yeah, he definitely knows his stuff.
You mentioned that you'd want Swampbeast to record all their albums with Rowley, but in terms of the actual sound, what does he bring to Swampbeast? What does he bring to the finished product?
I feel like he just, because I feel like he just understands like our sound and what we're going for. And when we're sitting there in the studio, he's a very easy guy to just kind of talk to and explain what you're doing. And
Well, I was going to stop you right there, Mark. I was going to say he's mentioned specifically multiple times whenever, I mean, even in times when I've seen him at a show that we're playing together, or even if just Teeth is playing, he talks about Swampbeast and he says like, not enough bands are focused on being truly angry and like mad, playing music that reflects being like truly like vicious or mad. And he said that like multiple times. So I feel like that's how he views our music.
yeah, I'd say he just gets it. And it's for me, it's less about what somebody brings to what we're trying to make, but just like if they truly understand it. To me, that was just way more important, and I wouldn't trade that, for whatever else.
Now, that's an interesting comment because, fair enough, death metal is pretty angry music. But speaking to you guys right now, both seem like pretty laid back, easygoing guys. Do you feel like there's a deep anger that comes out in Swampy's music?
I mean, I would say, yeah, like that. I think that's the point. I don't know. I wouldn't say that's the whole point, but I'd say it's got to sound like that. I don't know about you, Markov.
I'd say that I leave it all in Swamp Beast, and I don't take any of it home.
Yeah.
I got a family and a daughter now, shortly after we finished Seven Evils, and it's been good at turning my life around for the better. And before that, Swamp Beast was a big help in my life, and getting it all out there and stuff, and getting some stuff off my shoulders. I don't know if I said that twice, but yeah.
And I was gonna agree, yeah, with that. It's like I've never been in a band like this dark and angry, but that's the point of the music, is to sort of get it out. But at the same time, yeah, I feel like that's why we are laid back people.
So, we're heading into festival season. Do you guys have anything planned on the live front? Are you going to be able to tour on this or play any festivals?
I don't have any tours planned as of now, but we will be working on getting that together. Just don't have anything to speak on it now. We were going to play Total Death over Mexico, but it was canceled, unfortunately. And we do have a couple of shows in the chamber right now. We're playing with Ulthar, I think April 28th, and then Mortuous May 5th. So looking forward to that. Those are going to be 6 shows.
Yeah, excited for this.
Yeah, awesome bands. Tell Shelby from Althar I said hello, and give my regards to Chad from Mortuous.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
We will.
By the time people hear this episode or watch it on YouTube, Offering of Chaos, Lamenting in the Blood of Man will be out through Translation Lost Records. Marecov and Mike, please tell everyone listening and watching how they can order the album. What's the best way to get it?
Markov, do you want to speak on the
Yeah.
Bandcamp and then the website?
Yeah, Swampbeast on Bandcamp. Yeah, we got all. You can look us up on there. Instagram, Swampbeast Crust. We're not Crust, but it's too late to change the name now. You can order. You can order the full length on vinyl off the Translations Lost website, and yeah, just give it a listen.
Now, tell me a little bit about the vinyl versions that Translation Lost is putting out.
Yeah, I think there's like a cool, like, what do they call it, like a blood red, transparent, something like that. And then like the other version is really sick. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's like red, white, something. It's really cool.
It's not like a splatter. It's something else. It's like a colorway kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it looks really sick.
Yeah.
So, is all your merch going through the Bandcamp page?
Yeah. Yeah, all merch goes up there.
Except for the vinyl, that's going to be through translation loss. Sometimes, if you want to get it through there, you can get it through there, obviously. But yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to say?
Shout out the chat.
I was going to say shout out the group chat because that's our homies. We have a group chat with a bunch of people that are in a lot of death metal bands around Southern California.
Shout out Mortal Wound. Shout out Severus.
Mephitic Corpse.
Mephitic Corpse.
Fucking what's the Septic Fumes, Necropsy Odor, Larry.
Yeah, go listen to all those dumbasses bands. They're really good.
Yeah, they're all our homies, and they're really very talented individuals. And we have a group chat that is silly, and it's also very like wholesome in a lot of ways.
That seems like a good enough reason to let you go. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
you,
again,
Adrian.
Andrew. Adrian, sorry.